on college football's biggest stage against the #1 team in the country, Indiana didn't need style. Indiana needed resolve. For 60 minutes, this game was decided in the details. Third downs, field position, defense that refused to break. Every stop mattered. Every snap carried weight. Every moment demanded belief. When the clock hit 0, the noise didn't matter. The doubt disappeared. Indiana stood as Big Ten champions, the new #1 team in the college football playoff. This journey isn't finished. It's only changing zip codes. Next stop, Pasadena, the Rose Bowl. This is Indiana football, and this is the Hoosier Tailgate, and it starts now.
Raiola. And picked off! Up the sideline! Indiana! Asbury! Walking them down! Woo! IU! America! They got a football team now!
Saturday night wasn't chaos, it wasn't lucky, and it wasn't fluky. The Indiana Hoosiers didn't just win the Big Ten championship, as Curt Cignetti would say, never given, always earned, and the Hoosiers earned it on Saturday in Lucas Oil Stadium. Welcome to the Hoosier Football Tailgate here on thehoosier.com. I'm the coach, Shannon Griffith, and welcome to our Monday night edition recap. And this one is the Big Ten championship wrap-up for the Indiana Hoosiers, who defeated the Ohio State Buckeyes 13-10, like I said, in Lucas Oil Stadium in Indianapolis, Indiana, on a big stage on Saturday night. It was a game that, in some respects, was surreal at times, and other times it was just, you were in awe of the talent that was on that field Saturday on both sides of the line of scrimmage. It was a hard-hitting, physical football game in an old-style Big Ten slobber knocker, as you would call it, in a game that was not a shootout. It was a 13-10 defensive battle, as both defenses gave very little in that ball game. And whatever an offense earned, they had to earn it, because it was sure not because a broke coverage, not because of a big mistake. It was just simply a situation where one guy wanted it just a little bit more than the other guy out on the field. And that's the way it should be. I hope everyone that was able to go and see this in person has enjoyed the last couple of days of truly reflecting back on this ball game and all practical purposes and all that. But if you were able to watch it on TV, whether you're at home or at your favorite pub, I'm sure it was just as exciting as it was in person. I was fortunate enough to be there to watch the game. Of course, I've said before that I have a tie to Indiana that goes back to my son playing there for Kevin Wilson, and then now with the defensive coordinator Brian Haynes being a young coach that I was able to hire when my last coaching stops as a head coach, and give him his first opportunity in college football. And it's just kind of neat to see one of the guys that was under you for a year, and I knew then he had a great future in front of him, to be able to do what he's done, another year nominated for the Broyles Award, and probably will win it. If not, I don't know what goes all into that award, but he surely deserves every accolade that he may achieve. But he'll be the first to tell you it's his staff, it's the coaches that are part of his defensive group, and they all did a heck of a job putting a game plan together for this Ohio State offense that has Julian Sand, Carnell Tate, Jeremiah Smith. You can go right down the line. The Indiana Hoosiers ended up with, I think, 5 sacks on the night against an offensive line that I think had only given up 1 or 2 in the last couple of games. Of that, Michigan never got home, but Indiana did. The up front 4, Hosa Wheeler, Stephen Daly, Kamara. I mean, you can go Landino. You can go right down the line. All those guys played their top ball game in that, and it was able Indiana to capture the Big Ten title, 13-10, and the number 1 ranking in the college football playoffs. We got a lot to cover tonight, so we'll just kind of go through it as we go and enjoy the ride. If you got a question or comment, by all means, let's put it in the chat, and of course, we'll try to get it up on here. And if you have a question, try to do my best to answer it. If you are wanting to go to the Rose Bowl to see the Hoosiers play on January 1st in the granddaddy of them all, there are links there for, if you search through Indiana, there's some links there that have their package deals for land only. Of course, it's just when you get there, but there's options there for everyone for all that aspect of the things. Yes, he did, Mission. He did. And like I said, I guarantee it. He'd be the first to say it was a collaborative effort by the group of guys in that defensive room, and collaborating together, coming up with that plan and utilizing probably what they learned from last year and utilizing this year. No question about it. And yes, thank you. 5 sacks, 9 TFLs. Yeah. And again, Indiana, held this Ohio State offense really to under 300 yards total. They got the last throw, kind of the Hail Mary throw that kind of pushed them above, I think 300 and some, but they stopped the running game for the most part. And, they gave up a couple big hits to Jeremiah Smith, but it didn't result in, the big touchdown. So again, they did a great job in that category tonight. Also want to say this, and I put it out on Twitter, and I've put it up on some other platforms, Insta, TikTok, and that, right now. And again, you'll find this, link on my bio on my X page. And I will also try to include it in the description on the YouTube pages, for this broadcast. But the Fanatic store, Hoosier Fanatic store, you can get your Big Ten championship apparel at Hoosier Tailgate Fanatic storefront. And you can get that. I believe they're running like a 50% off, if I'm not mistaken, from that standpoint for the Hoosiers tonight. And I don't know how long that's going to go. That's why I'm trying to pull it up here quickly. And see if I can pull the link of it real quick. But they've got a lot of great selections there for everything. Let me see. I'll try to put it in the, let's see. I'll put it in here and see if this works. There's the link to the Hoosier Tailgate storefront there. There is, like I said, 50% off there as well, that you can get for the Fanatic store. And they got a lot of great championship gear already up and rolling, as well as other things if you want. Remember, if you go there, yes, I do get a commission, very small, but anything I earn, of course, goes back into the production of the show. And if you happen to get something there, greatly appreciate it. But you can find the link, go there as well and get it taken care of. And also for all the information that you want on this past game, the Big Ten championship, recruiting and all that, Hoosier.com, 50% off in that for the first year. I think they still have that going on, but also you get entered in for the grand prize drawing, and there's a lot of gear that is up for grabs on that if you get a subscription to the Hoosier.com, and just a tremendous amount of coverage by those guys. And again, I'm proud to be associated with the Hoosier.com in the manner that I am. But those guys that write and cover, and Zach Browning, Alec Glassley, Colin McMahon, I can just go on and on about all of them. Kyler Staley, they do all the basketball stuff. Those guys do a tremendous job. Get over to Hoosier.com. Get that subscription today. One last thing here, and we'll get on our way. If you could, hit that like, subscribe button. Appreciate it if you do so. That allows you to hit that notification bell. It lets you know when we go live on YouTube as well. And, of course, on our X feed, you can find our live sessions there as well. And if you're a podcast listener and you go to the Hoosier Tailgate podcast platform, whether it be Spotify or Apple, iHeart, we're all on all of them. By all means, give us a rating, a review. It helps in the algorithms and stuff like that. But trying to get as many people in touch with the Hoosier Tailgate, and appreciate you guys always being here on Mondays and Thursdays as we go along. Enough of that. On with the show, so to speak. And what I was trying to show you there for a second, and I don't know if I can pull it over here. I'll try. Let's see if I can. I don't know if I'll work, but we'll see what happens here. Let's see if I close this. There we go. There's the Fanatics store right there. You can see all the different gear that they got of Indiana. Not just the one, but here's the this is a championship. Oops, sorry about that. Championship one right here. There's the code for the 50% off that you can get, and take care of that. And there you go. You get a great looking deal with that as well. And so that kind of gives you an idea of what's out there, as well as everything that is up for on that site. Again, appreciate it. Enough said about that. On with the main focus of tonight, of course, is getting through this ball game from Saturday and what's all happened and transpired in the last 24 to 48 hours. But again, Indiana with that Big Ten championship, and also the first #1 ranking of the Indiana Hoosier football team in its history. First time to being back to the Rose Bowl since, I think, 68, if I'm not mistaken. Some of you Hoosier historians may be able to correct me if I'm wrong there. But a lot of things over the last 2 years that Coach Cignetti's been in charge, and achieving what they have achieved and gotten to where they are at today as Big Ten champions, #1 in the college football rankings, playing in the granddaddy of them all, playing the winner of Alabama and Oklahoma, and a chance to win a national title now. It's just, at times you just kind of shake your head. I mean, it's kind of crazy to think that Indiana is where they're at. And it's been through the hard work of the kids, the players as well, but as everybody associated with the organization from the top down, from Pam Whitten, the president, to Dolson and his staff, and then right down to Coach Cignetti and what he's in charge of. Just a great achievement by all in that respect when it comes to this game. Indiana, as overall, there were some controversies. Get into it here real quickly as it pertains to the college football playoffs. I did have a lot of questions via Twitter and some other platforms here and there, and text messages from buddies and stuff. But what was my take on Notre Dame being left out? Look, I'm not a Notre Dame apologist. I truly respect what they represent in terms of the prestige of Notre Dame and everything that they bring to the table when you talk about historics and football and things like that. Marcus Freeman, I think, is a top-notch coach. The one thing that I will say about this, and I have always said this about Notre Dame ever since they were going towards not just the BCS, everything that's involved with college football and the playoffs and playing for a national championship and stuff. I always said that if Notre Dame never gets in a conference, they will either have to go undefeated or at a minimum only lose one game for them to get in. And I say that because it's almost impossible not to include them when they're undefeated or with one loss, kind of like last year, right? When they lost 2 this year, even though it was the first 2 games of the season against ranked opponents, one on the road, one at home, then winning 10 straight, it left that margin of air that could ultimately come back and bite them, and you know what, with Miami. And that's where the college football playoff got it wrong all along. I've always said you might as well take the rankings, including the AP poll, and not put anything out, especially in the AP poll, until about mid-year on a ranking scale. And for the college football playoffs, they're doing themselves a huge disservice, as is ESPN, by having these Tuesday night shows, because that is a snapshot in time if the college football playoffs were to be played like the following week. So it was never ingrained that every team that was in the top 11 was a shoe-in to get into the college football playoffs when they finally did their final vote and what it came down to. So that was a disservice in that respect. It was a disservice on how they were ranking Miami and Notre Dame at the time, knowing that head-to-head was eventually going to come back into the fray. And had they not put Notre Dame ahead of Miami after all those weeks, they wouldn't have this controversy today. And said from day one, right now, Miami has beat Notre Dame head-to-head, and that's a tiebreaker for us, and that's why they are ahead of Notre Dame, rather waiting to the last week at the 12th hour to drop BYU to slide Miami in there, and then all of a sudden use the head-to-head deal to go and make the justification for putting Miami ahead of Notre Dame. That's where they screwed up. And that's where it looks so bad. It stinks, and I get it. And I think personally, if you want my personal opinion, outside of them not being in a conference, outside of them, whatever, I do think Notre Dame should be in the college football playoffs. They were last year's runner-up. The two losses they had were against ranked teams, one on the road, one at home, and it wasn't by a big margin. So you can almost say, you learned that both teams were equally as good, not that one was better than the other, even though Miami beat Notre Dame at home. But I do believe they should be in. So the first mistake was all the stuff that led up to last night or yesterday afternoon, where they voted for all this and slid Miami ahead of Notre Dame when they had 5 weeks of showing that Miami was not better than Notre Dame by the rankings. And that's the mistake number one. Mistake number two was all this fluff and stuff beforehand. And I also think in the grand scheme of things with all this, in that respects, with all this is the fact that the ACC had on a 24-hour loop the Miami Notre Dame game. And remember now, Notre Dame is tied into the ACC, football for scheduling and all their other sports. They had U of M, Miami versus Notre Dame, first game of the season on repeat for a 24-hour period, I think on Saturday, almost politicking and promoting U of M or Miami. So that's another thing that looks totally bad. And I get the frustration of their AD, Marcus Freeman, the players, so forth and so on. And the last thing I will say to this is what they did with Alabama. Like I always said, and before this, I don't think a team should be scrutinized or essentially dropped in the polls by too many spots if they are equally like Indiana, Ohio State were undefeated. It would have been a shame to see the loser of that game get dropped out of the top four and lose the bye. So they didn't do that. But if you look at the BYU situation, They lost twice to Texas Tech, got blown out, and they decide to drop them. Okay, that's a precedent that they put, and they didn't hold that same precedent to Alabama when they lost their third ball game to Georgia by 3 touchdowns. And that right there, in my opinion, should have moved Alabama out of it in favor of Notre Dame in it. And again, having been in that room, although at a different level, it's the same problem every year. You're going to have teams upset with what happens. And the fact of the matter is, when you don't see the rules as they are written equally applied across the board, and you set a precedent by taking a team that was in the conference playoffs and then kicking them out of the top 12 a la BYU, you can't leave Bama in, losing the conference championship game by 3 touchdowns and giving them the third loss of the year. It's just not fair in that respect. And you could make the same argument for Vanderbilt at 10-2 over Alabama because they had a better record, irregardless of what may or may not happen in that ball game. So again, I do think Notre Dame should have been in. I do think they got screwed in some respects, not because of Miami jumping over them in that respect. That was just a bad look. It was because of the precedent that they did not hold Alabama to the same as they did BYU, and that's it, and so forth and so on. As far as Notre Dame not playing in a bowl game, look, the bowl games are on life support right now, and they're going to be. So we know that when teams go to the bowl games, they get most of their senior class opting out for the draft, whether they are draftable or not. And until that's solved, and you've got these teams that are going to go play in what they view as a meaningless bowl because the college football playoffs have now ruled the world. They've destroyed the bowl system because they don't value them anymore. They do not value them. The kids don't even value them. If we're not going to the playoffs, I don't want to play another game. I don't want to go to a bowl game. I don't want to do this. I don't want to do that. Where in years past, the bowl games was giving you essentially X number of days of development and practice for your young kids to go play a game before you started spring practice in about 2 or 3 months. And now they're not doing it. So Notre Dame opting out, I don't agree with that. Sorry. I just don't think that's the right message, but I get it. And that's their choice to do. And whether the ACC decides to fine them or whatever, we'll see. At the bottom line, here it is, though. Notre Dame, they got to give it in a conference. It's just too much of a situation where it's going to be continued to hold against them because they're sitting at home on championship Saturday, watching everybody else beat their heads against the wall, and they're sitting at home playing an independent schedule that may or may not hold up to strength of schedule, strength of record, whatever, and they're rolling the dice if they're not undefeated or 1 loss. If they're 2 losses, they're going to probably lose out on the long run more times than they would if they're in a conference. So we'll see what all happens. Enough of that, but let's see here. Hey, Coach Griff, Bama or Sooners, who do you want? Don't ask me that question. I think the thing about Oklahoma is that their offense is not very good. They got a good defense. So it's like I said this year in college football, there's a lot of great defenses out there, but there's not the complement of offenses of going with the defense. And Oklahoma is one of those. Alabama, on the other hand, I do think has a better team on across the board. And when they played Oklahoma, they had tons of yards, but Simpson threw like 2 or 3 picks in that game. And one was the pick 6, if I'm not mistaken. So it's neither here nor there. Just whoever steps into that spot out in the Rose Bowl, like Kurt Cignetti would say, we're just going out to play a game. If it's in the parking lot, we'll play them in the parking lot. Let's see. Can Notre Dame win the ACC as a member, or or as a team that they would choose, even though they're independent, to play in the conference championship, which was the other problem the ACC had, putting Duke in the final. And it cost them, and it hurt Notre Dame, and it was a bad scene. If Notre Dame goes in the ACC, yeah, they could win the ACC. I just don't know if they'll ever do that. It doesn't fit their footprint. The better team, the better league that fits their footprints, the Big Ten, and always will be. Okay, yeah. Keep putting the questions in there, guys. That's my take on the controversy and all that. We'll talk more about it as we go along. And as a member, if they were in the ACC, yes, I think they would have the chance to win the ACC each year, every year, because of what Notre Dame puts on the field year in, year out, and what Coach Freeman has done. But I don't think that relationship's ruined. I look for Notre Dame to pull everything and look at other options. And I think it will be beneficial for the Big Ten, if you ask me, because I just think that's a geographical footprint they fit better in, because the Big Ten is now east to west coast, which serves Notre Dame equally as good because of their following. And I just think that's going to be a better place for them in the long run. But maybe they go to the Big 12. I don't know. We'll see what all happens. But enough of the ND stuff, because we're here to talk about the Hoosiers. And I'm sorry I got on a tangent, but it is what it is in that regard. But I do think they got screwed, and we'll just leave it at that in the long run. And I don't think it was because of Miami. We talked about this. We'll get a little bit more of it here in a second. But Indiana, again, this game on Saturday, when you really, when I looked at it and, kind of rewatched it, and we're going to throw some highlights up in and there. From this game on Saturday, and being at the game, Don Fisher, Cloud Nine, get to call the championship game and see Indiana win it from a football perspective, and all the games that he's done, truly remarkable. But Indiana for this game, and we'll get to the statistical aspects here. Looking at this ball game, let's get over here to that's not what I wanted. The statistical standpoint of it all, when you look at this, in that sense of the equation, just like I showed on Thursday, how identical these two teams were on the black and white of it. Very little separated each of these ball clubs. Both dynamic offenses, both great defenses. It was just a game that was equally matched on paper. And what we saw ultimately was that come to life on the field on Saturday. But as you see it here, Indiana, 118 yards rushing. They did just enough there. I thought they were better in their scheme. I thought Coach Shanahan called a terrific game. He tried, not just the inside zone. He did some outside zone. He did some counters in there as well. He used two tight ends. He moved his formations around. He moved Surratt around in terms of where he positioned him. I don't think what Omar, according to Cignetti, is going to be something that will keep him out of that game at the Rose Bowl. I do think he'll be back, so I don't think they think it's anything overly serious. But I liked the way what they did there. I liked how they did it. I liked their scheme. They made one bad decision, and that was the quick screen into the boundary against rolled coverage, and that disaster in terms of how it all played out. That was the only mistake to me that Mendoza made in terms of, throwing it there. He, in my opinion, should have thrown it away. But when you look at these stats, Indiana, 118, held Ohio State to 58 yards rushing. That's incredible. And then when you look at the passing game, Indiana had 222 yards. Both these quarterbacks completed over 70% of their passes. Sayan had 264 yards. But like I said, that last play probably would have knocked them down enough that they would only had like 298 or 295 yards of total offense in that respect. And except, in that, aspect of things. But that was the aspect there. Fourth downs, Indiana went for it once, and Ohio State did, and got overturned when Sayen's knee hit the ground before he could reach the line. I was almost positive they were not going to overturn that. I mean, it was in a scrum. You did see his knee go down. They must have had a great angle to really define that he was short, and that was a huge, huge play in the game. And just crazy there in that respect. But Indiana on third down was at 46%, was pretty good. And then again, Indiana's defense holding Ohio State to 4 of 12. They got pressure on Sayen, all that aspect of things. Neither team in the red zone. Indiana was 3 out of 4 on their chances. Ohio State was 2 of 4. The big one there, I always say, is the points off of turnovers. They only had 3, but Ohio State got the big 7. But look at time of possession. They almost had equal time of possession. I mean, you couldn't throw this out there in any better script to show how close these teams were. And I have a ton of respect for Ryan Day and his ball club and what they do and how they do it. And, you know, I just think in situations like this, now that the Big Ten, we want, as anyone, irregardless, and I heard the Ohio State fans even saying this, as far as what needs to happen going forward, we want the Big Ten to be the elite conference in these playoffs with just with Indiana, Ohio State, and Oregon only 3 in. So we want them all to perform well. To take this mantra about the SEC, as Greg Stanke was on game day Saturday saying that he felt the SEC deserved 7 teams in the college football playoffs. I mean, this guy is delusional in his thought processing. So anyway, but from that standpoint, it was great. It was all things were on point on Saturday, and Indiana just from that standpoint did a great job with their play calling and everything that went there, and the defense played championship football, and Indiana's offense made the big play at the right time. And Charlie Becker had 2 of them. Surratt had the other one. And, you know, they had those big plays there. And then, of course, Kalon Black's run was huge. It was just a marvelous thing to see in person. I can only imagine hearing Gus Johnson call it was even more spectacular. But anyway, that was the biggest thing from that game. We'll continue on here in a second. But first of all, want to talk about Big Game Football Factory. You can get, and I'm going to show you the promo here in a second, you can get the ball that will actually be used by Indiana in the college football playoffs. That's fitted for Fernando Mendoza, who is a finalist for the Heisman Trophy, as it just came out that he is one of the 4 finalists. It's him, Jeremiah Smith, Sayen, and Diego Pavia are the 4 finalists for the Heisman Trophy, but you can get the ball that Indiana will use in the college football playoffs from Big Game Football Factory. And this is what they have to say. Or do they?
The Indiana Hoosiers made history by making the college football playoffs. Now here's your chance to bring history home with the Hoosiers official limited edition CFP football. This exclusive football is a symbol of excellence, built for the biggest stage in the sport, and capturing the pride, passion, and performance of playoff football. Only 12 programs earn the right to hold one each year. Now is your chance to have one of your own, forever. Handcrafted in the USA, these authentic game day footballs are made specifically and approved for on-field play during the college football playoffs with a certificate of authenticity. Every detail is stitched, shaped, and finished by hand using the same craftsmanship trusted by the teams on the field by Big Game Football Factory, the largest American-owned football factory. Embodies Indiana's championship spirit with the bold, interlocking IU monogram, and the official CFP 2026 emblem. Customized to meet each QB's specific preferences, so you'll get the football made exactly the way Fernando Mendoza loves to play. Must-have gift for collectors, alumni, students, and die-hard fans. Don't just witness history, own history. Get your exclusive football only at BigGameUSA.com.
Yeah, Big Game Football Factory. Again, that is the ball that Indiana will be using. You can get it at that link at Big Game Football, and there's the value of it, $175, and you can order that. And great collector's item there from Big Game, as they have become a sponsor of us here at On3. It's a pretty cool item to get. And like I said, they're going to be the official ball for the college football playoffs and everything. So that is a key component of all this as well. And you can get that, like I said, through Big Game Football Factory on their website, and get a ball. That's the thing. That's the cool thing about it, is you get one of those balls, and we'll have more about it as we go. Again, before we went into that, and I may have said this a little bit too fast, Mr. Fernando Mendoza is a finalist for the Heisman Trophy. Just kind of came out with that. I'm trying to see if I can get over to it here quickly. But he is one of the 4 finalists for that award, between Jeremiah Smith and Julian Sayin and Diego Pavia. And let me see if I can get this up here. Yep. And again, this is kind of a hasty thing, as it just kind of broke here not too long ago, about an hour ago, on this aspect of things. And let's try to see what we can pop up here. Again, this is over at the football Hoosier.com. As you can see, join for $1 and get all 3 of those, as well as get an entry into the giveaway for selected merchandising. It's a great package, by the way. If you watch Jim Coyle's show on Indiana Sports Beat Radio, he's talked about it ad nauseum, about the giveaway, which is pretty cool. But anyway, Mendoza and Sayin, Love, and Diego Pavia are the finalists. It'll be, I think it's Saturday, if I'm not mistaken. ESPN will have it from there in New York. It'll be a interesting debate on who's going to win that. I know Diego Pavia has made kind of a big push of late, and you can't deny his season that he had at Vanderbilt, especially the last 2. He's done really well, but you cannot sit here and say that Fernando Mendoza is not worthy of the Heisman Trophy, leading Indiana to a 13-0 record, #1 overall seed in the college football playoffs. The comeback victories and game-winning scores that he's led. Again, remember, Indiana, 10 out of 13 games, has scored points in the last 2 minutes of a quarter. They were 248 when they kicked the field goal to make it 10-6 against Ohio State. So they were 46 seconds away from being 11 out of 13. But again, that is a good one. I do think, if I had to say who would be my other pick in all this, and I think I've said it before, I do think Jeremiah Love is one that can be a guy that you can appreciate being in that as well, because of what he did on the year. He had a tremendous career. He hurt us a year ago with the run that he had. It was on fire, that 98-yard run that ultimately broke that game open, per se. So, again, that's Saturday in New York. So we'll give you as much information as we can with that. Good luck to Fernando. He's a great kid on top of a great quarterback that had a great year. The story is just one for the record books with just him and his brother being a part of Indiana. But on top of that, mom and dad, the family, they had a whole conglomerate of Mendozas at the game Saturday. Mom was able to be there, which was phenomenal to see, because that's a pretty good thing in that respect. With all that, yeah, that dude does have a good voice. That's the type of voice that makes you jealous because he's making millions voiceovers. RB says, IU Georgia and the dogs and the net. Well, that could absolutely happen. And again, Indiana is not going to have there's no easy pass in this. I'm going to throw up the bracket here. Let's get over to that while we're talking about it. Let's take that down. Let's get over to the top 25 here real quick. That's the odds. We'll come back to that in a second. But again, the AP poll, final AP poll, there you have it. Even the AP that has Indiana at number 1. So there's a lot of sports writers out there that had to be converted to saying that Indiana was the best team. Ohio State dropped a full 2 spots in their poll, which I don't agree with that one because, again, a 3-point game, man, oh man, that's how equally matched these teams. Georgia right now is playing good football, especially defensively. They're really good. Texas Tech is kind of the team that is surprising everyone, kind of like what Arizona State did last year. They're scoring a bunch of points. They got a really good defense. Their defense is some of the top categories as well. It all has, a true making of who may or may not win this as it all. Here's the bracket as we were talking about earlier. As you can see, how about JMU getting in, as is Tulane, the group of 5 schools. When Duke beat Virginia, that opened the door for JMU because they were the next highest ranked conference champion, and that's the rules. And so people are blaming, JMU shouldn't be in it and Tulane because they're not as good as Notre Dame. And well, it may be that, but again, the group of 5 has to have a seat at the table. Otherwise, the college football playoff would be sued for antitrust violations. So JMU gets in as the next highest conference champion. So congratulations to that group of kids. If you saw some of their interviews on Sunday, the head coach there at JMU, who's now going to be at UCLA, was very complimentary of Indiana and served as a motivating factor for their kids in the sense of those G5 kids looking at Indiana, Aiden Fisher of all of them, Surratt and all of them, understanding that they have the makings to be those type of guys and be a factor in all this. Let's see. I cannot believe there are still people in the media still. Well, yeah, they've been calling Indiana a fluke for 2 years. And this is why they start making themselves look stupid now, because Indiana's proved it on the field. And they proved it by winning at Oregon, winning at Iowa, winning at Penn State, and then beating Ohio State Saturday. And for those that want to continue to say this or that about Indiana, that's fine. They're never going to convince them otherwise in that respect. But, even Feinbaum had to admit that Indiana's a good team after they beat Ohio State. And that's about all he's going to say anyway. But as you can see there, Indiana takes on the winner of Alabama, Oklahoma. Georgia gets the Ole Miss Tulane winner. Ohio State will get the Miami Texas A&M winner. And of course, Texas Tech gets the Oregon JMU winner. Everybody's saying that everybody thinks that Georgia maybe has the easiest path. And that may be true because of Ole Miss, and maybe because Kiffin is now gone, that may be enough that, who knows, Tulane could upset them or whatever. But I just don't think there's an easy path up there in that respect, unless there's some just big upsets here between JMU and Oregon and Tulane and Ole Miss. But it's a pretty solid bracket when you look at it. And then if you want to look at the odds for all this, Indiana is still a second choice odds at 275. Ohio State's still ahead of them it's kind of interesting dynamic to look at those odds right now and see Indiana ahead of, 10 other teams in some respects. So with all that, but yeah, Indiana's got as good a chance as anybody in that. And yeah, you're right. Yeah. The potential of JMU and Indiana playing kind of would be a interesting dynamic in that, as is Miami playing potentially Georgia with the guy that they took last year. It's crazy how college football's changed in that regard. But Indiana at 275. And again, it goes back to Indiana as the good football teams in that respect for everything. And yeah, I was trying to figure out if you had $10 on Indiana to win the Big Ten championship prior to the year starting, how much money that would been. And I still haven't tried to find out what that would have cashed, especially that. And even if you had Indiana to play in the national championship game or win it, it'd been a pretty good bet considering with all that. But back to this game here before we have to, with everything that's going on, I'll kind of give you a rundown of kind of what we're going to think of doing here at the tailgate as we lead up to the game, as we got a really kind of a layoff in that respect, because it's 3 weeks before Indiana plays again, which gives, like Sig said, to get them humbled and hungry again, so to speak, and kind of knock the, rust off of them when he gets them back. But this ball game was filled with moments that you could look back to in this game that were truly spectacular. But the one I wanted to show discussion is the question that was asked by our own Zach Browning of Coach Cignetti in the presser afterwards, the 3rd and 6 call that continued to drive for Indiana and kind of what all went into that. And I think it does a great job of giving you what is occurring in the headsets or what coaches are talking about in these scenarios, what happens in that situation.
3rd and 6, 2 minutes and 41 seconds to go. You elect to throw the ball, and Fernando completes 33 yards down the field to Charlie Becker. What went into that decision to throw the ball there?
I mean, they had, when we started the drive, they had time and timeouts. They had enough time with their timeouts for about 16 plays at the start of our drive. And then they used their timeouts, and, I wasn't going to play not to lose. We were playing to win. And the one thing, we do spend a lot of time on the clock, how many plays are left in the game, things of that nature. We've kind of figured we had to get about 3 first downs. That's what I told the team. So you got to get a first down. I wasn't going to punt the ball back to them with 2 minutes to go and no timeouts. We had to give our guys an opportunity to make plays. We were getting on top of them at certain points in that game, and Fernando was throwing great deep balls, and it was a great play.
There it was, and it was a great explanation of what was going on in Sig's mind as well as Shanahan's mind on that drive. They had time and timeouts, and Indiana did a great job of forcing Ohio State to use the timeouts and got it to a 3rd and 6. And I think everybody at that point, the question was, as we were discussing in the media area, does Indiana go for it here and throw the ball, knowing that Ohio State has one timeout, an incomplete pass kills the clock? And I think the consensus was that they were going to run it, maybe some type of quarterback read, and hope that the end, chased and Fernando could run around the right or left end. And you heard what Cignetti's thing was there. They had felt that they were getting on top of the DBs, that they were winning at the line of scrimmage, and they were there to win it, not to hope to win it. And being in those situations, that's a tough call. You're in your own zone. You're going to throw the ball in 3rd and 6, and you're looking for the look. And what Ohio State did, they loaded up and came. They were going to, we're not going to let you run it. So we're going to you're going to run it into 8-9 men, or we're going to make you throw it, and we'll take our chances on the outside. And Fernando made a great throw. Charlie Becker has done a great job on contested throws. And again, that dude was all over him, just like he was on the post route that he caught. To him to go up and get that ball, come down with it, and Indiana get the first down, that in itself was the ball game. Because from that point forward, Ohio State really couldn't stop the clock outside of the one timeout. Indiana did what they would do. They ran the ball 3 times, knowing that they could punt it and pin Ohio State inside the 10, hopefully. And exactly what they did. And that call will go down as one of the greatest calls in Indiana football history, outside of the call and the catch by Omar in Penn State and the throw at Oregon that Mendoza made after the pick that he hit Surratt for the touchdown. Because at that point in time, for him to call that against, their backs against the wall now. I mean, they're inside like the 20-yard line. And if anything goes bad there, tip ball, something could have gone wrong. And for them to go ahead and say, hey, we're going for it, let's get the first down. I applaud them on that call, because they did the right thing, and it was a great call. And like I said, Shanahan was dialed in all night, and I just thought they had the right call at the right time. And in that respect, be interesting to see what everybody else had to say. Yeah, he's a great kid. He shows it, man. The kid works hard. I know a lot of guys that have a lot of respect for that kid in terms of his work ethic that we don't see, but they do in that respect. Let's see. Had $5 on Indiana for the Big Ten champion. Yep, $205. That's pretty good, Robert. I'd buy you a new pair of shoes. Get over to the Hoosier Tailgate store. You could buy a whole lot of T-shirts, my man. Yeah, the other thing in that respect too is, it literally that was a yes. As Todd McShay said on Twitter, if you haven't seen it, he's doing a game live broadcast on that call. It's on X. You can find it. He said onions, but he was even blown away by it. And Todd McShay has said already that Indiana has 8 kids that will be in the NFL that are draftable. So that would be even monumental in that respect. But that play there was huge, no question about it, as were others. I'm going to show a little bit of highlights and just let the background and the game flow with this go, and not be the coach rewinding it, saying this or that. Just let it rip and see what just to relive some of the biggest highlights of that game on Saturday.
C.J. Donaldson in the backfield at running back. Here's Sayin over the middle and intercepted. Lewis Moore. Indiana has a football. Reminiscent of last week for Ohio State. This one from 29 yards away for Nico Radicic. Got it up and good. Indiana on the board first. 33 yards this season and 6 rushing touchdowns. On first down, intercepted at McNelson. Sonny Styles make that Lorenzo Styles blew up the play. At the 9 for Ohio State. Sayin looking. Sayin in trouble. Scrambles. Throws. Touchdown. Taylor, home run hitter, Carnell Tate. Black turns it up, nice cut. Black, high stepping. Black out of bounds. Indiana toting the rock.
Where they're rolling to in coverage.
2nd and 6 at the 26. Sayin on the play fake. Sayin down the field. Smith! Jeremiah! At the 20 and chopped down Jeremiah Smith. And it's good. Up and good. Mendoza steps up, down the field. Caught! Inside the 30. Charlie B. As well. Mendoza. Fade. Surratt. Corner! Touchdown! Indiana! No good! Saying. Lets it go. And it is caught, but not enough. Curt Cignetti does it in 2 years.
Some sights and sound there from Fox broadcast of the Big Ten Championship with Gus Johnson on the call. And that was a cut up, so hopefully no strikes. But I was like, what the hell, man? It's too good not to show the actual highlights in a way that captures the emotion of that night. As you saw in the one play, the one interception that Mendoza threw, that was the one I think was a bad decision that he needed to just throw it out of bounds and replay because the look wasn't there with what they were looking for. They had 3 over 2 and they tried to bring Nowakowski in motion and it was too muddled over there and he'd been better throwing the ball away on that one. But again, the actual game footage, the actual thing with all that is just in the sense that, there was so many calls in that game that were just some great calls. The ones called to Jeremiah Smith, play action pass off their power play, and D'Angelo was actually bailing. Then he's throttled and tried to chuck him. And Smith, he's so strong. Jeremiah Smith is so strong. He just ran by him off the chuck. And great call, great throw, great catch, but a good job by Indiana rallying and keep him from going into the end zone. Because I think that was the drive that they got stopped on 4th and 1, if memory serves me right. And that's respect from all of it. But yeah, game for the ages, no question about it. Mission as well as agent. There was a lot of that in the Old Faithful, especially those that have been true Hoosier fans with this football program and team for years. Mark Deal. His reaction, its emotion on the sideline after the game. You know, for a guy, I know Mark personally, he is a true, great individual, human being, all the above. And his legacy there at Indiana behind the scenes is very well known. To see him have the reaction he did was kind of priceless as well. And, you know, I've been fortunate in my career to be a part of a conference championship. And it's, you know, as a coach, it's the most thrilling, most fulfilling moment you have because of what you've gone through for 12 weeks and what that all entails. The ups, the downs, the almost, the could-haves, the would-haves, the should-haves, to come out on the end like that. It was truly amazing to watch others enjoy that moment. Ryan Day, yeah, I mean, I know he's getting some criticism here, but again, think about what he was thinking there. They had gone for it before. Indiana had stopped them. They had not run the football that great. They had already tried kind of a gimmicky pass on 3rd down that Hardy broke up. And so he's thinking in his mind right there, man, we've tried everything. It's best to get this game tied up and play for overtime rather than going for it and not getting it, because then you're going to be criticized for the bunny. And this kid doesn't miss. Their field goal kicker doesn't miss. I mean, he's kind of like what Radovich was, and his miss was shocking. But this kid, he hooked it. And I was waiting for Keith Jackson to come on and say he missed it wide left. And there is a call from our friend, Mr. Fish, Don Fisher's call of that. actually on X, if you can find it, and see that call and his excitement when he missed that field goal. And I hope that kid's okay, because the Ohio State faithful can be ruthless. And I hope that kid is okay in all this. But again, let's see here. Are we a football school now? I'd say until further notice, DeVries gets this thing to look like we are now. Yeah, I think you can call Indiana football school now with what Sig's done in 2 years, but but it's been crazy, as we have all seen. But guys, I appreciate you joining me here tonight. And it's kind of one of those things that when I was going through preparing this, I wanted to be more in the moment as opposed to trying to say this or that and trying to break down film and, to say this and that. I just think it's one of those things that you gotta, the moment was so big, and what, being there and the crowd was crazy. The Indiana faithful showed up, showed out. I mean, it was more Indiana than Ohio State fans, I think. It may have been right down the middle. I think they had an announced crowd. I thought I heard like 60 some odd thousand, but then again, I don't know for sure on that. I wasn't paying too much attention to how many people were there. I was just in awe of the spectacle that was playing out before me, and didn't even get to sleep that good on Saturday night in my hotel, because I mean, after a game like that, you're still kind of caught up in the emotion of it all. And I was rewatching it because they were replaying it. So anyway, but going forward, guys, I appreciate, again, first and foremost, I really appreciate you guys being here each and every week and being a part of the show in this live format. I hope that you feel like you're getting something out of it. And I will continue to try to up the level as much as I humanly possibly can, and within the guide rules of YouTube and such. With all that, as we look at future shows, we're going to kick it down to once a week now that we've got all this time in between Indiana and when they play. And so we know, until we've got somebody to really evaluate, whether it's Alabama, whether it's Oklahoma, we'll keep it at one as we're going now. So we'll be back next Monday night for our show. Live show will be Monday night next week. That will kind of be a recap too of the Heisman and everything that goes into it. So we'll have updates on that as well as anything else that happens between now and recruiting with any additions. And then of course the portal and things of that nature will be coming open here. But until that, we get to that official game week, we'll go once a week, and then we'll kick it back up when we get into the heat of the playoffs and all. I want to thank you guys very much for being here with me again tonight. Remember, head to the Fanatics store, get all your championship gear as you want. And remember, if you want a game ball, get out to the Big Game Football Factory and get the ball that will be used in the college football playoffs, especially with that bold interlocking IU monogram on it. And ones that Fernando likes to play, those balls all go through them to determine which ones they utilize for the playoffs. So get one of those for your collection, as well as some Fanatic store gear, all that. Great time of year, Christmas. Get it for your loved one. Get it to show on January 1. But most of all, I appreciate each and every one of you for joining me here each and every week here on The Tailgate. For now, I'm the coach, Shannon Griffith. We'll see you next Monday night, 7:30, all again here on the Hoosier Tailgate, right here on thehoosier.com.